He thought it was a joke. He thought she didn't belong among them. But when she spoke 2 words, Iron Widow, the entire room froze, and the Admiral himself dropped his glass in shock. This is the story of the woman who turned humiliation into history. The morning sun fell over the training grounds of the Navy SEALs. 20 of the toughest men stood in perfect formation, every jaw tight, every boot aligned. And there, at the far end, stood Lieutenant Commander Arwen Blackwood, the only woman, the only outsider. As the Admiral walked past each operator, his eyes were sharp as knives. Years of war had carved his face into stone. But when he stopped in front of her, his gaze lingered. "Lieutenant Commander Blackwood," he said slowly, "your cover is 1 centimeter off regulation alignment." The formation went silent. Everyone knew her uniform was perfect. He just wanted to prove a point. "Yes, sir," she replied calmly. "I'll correct it immediately, sir." Not a twitch, not a frown. Just steel in her voice. 3 spots down, Lieutenant Thade, the team leader, smirked. Everyone knew the truth. The Admiral wanted this program, the one allowing women into SEALs, to fail. And Arwen was his favorite target. That morning, Commander Coltrane, the training officer, gave the order. Today's mission: extended maritime extraction under enemy observation, 15 miles offshore. Full gear. An operation meant for week 4, but the Admiral had just moved it to day 15. He wanted her to break. As the team prepared, Thade brushed past her shoulder. "Hope you're a strong swimmer, Blackwood," he whispered. The weights got heavier overnight. She said nothing. But when she lifted her vest, she felt it, extra pounds on the left side. Sabotage. She didn't complain. She didn't even flinch. She simply adjusted the weights, balanced them, and kept moving. That's what real warriors do. They adapt in silence. A mysterious officer from Naval Intelligence entered the room. Captain Vesper Reeve. Her uniform carried no insignia, but her eyes, they said everything. She looked at Arwen. 1 nod. Nothing more. But that one silent exchange spoke volumes. Something was happening beyond this training. Something bigger. Moments later, a comms officer handed Arwen a secure tablet. Priority message. Eyes only. She unlocked it. Read it, closed it. Her face didn't change, but her shoulders straightened. Whatever it was, it mattered. The helicopters lifted off, rotors slicing the sky. The SEALs jumped into the Pacific, cold, grey, and merciless. Arwen's team hit the water second. She took point, even though she wasn't the team leader. Under the surface, it was like another world. Green light, pressure, silence. She moved ahead, signaling directions with hand gestures that weren't standard SEAL code. They were faster, smarter, techniques nobody had ever been taught. Her team followed, confused but trusting her precision. Every move was deliberate. Every turn, perfect. When they reached the target, an old oil platform, Thade's team was already there. He was smiling under his mask, the prize almost in his hands, and then everything changed. Arwen made one strange motion, a twist of her wrist, and in seconds, visibility dropped. A cloud of silt and bubbles blinded everyone. When the water cleared, Thade's team was empty-handed. The package, the mission's goal, was gone. Arwen's team had it. Nobody saw how she did it. No one could explain it. Even the sensors on the platform, which tracked every movement, showed nothing. She had moved through their systems like a ghost. When they surfaced, the Admiral's voice came over the comms, sharp and cold. Time differential was minimal. Unconventional tactics, poor adherence to protocol, but Arwen looked him straight in the eye. "With respect, Admiral, mission success requires adaptability." "We completed the objective." His jaw tightened. He hated that she was right. That night, the tension in the base was thick as smoke. Everyone whispered about her, the woman who'd beaten the Admiral's favorite. But for Arwen, the victory meant nothing. She wasn't there to prove herself. She was there for something no one else could see. The next morning, she received another coded message. Just 4 words. "Stay the course, observe." As the week went on, the Admiral tried again and again to humiliate her. He questioned her reports. He mocked her strategies. He even turned the others against her. And yet every single time, she stayed calm, precise, unbreakable. No matter what he threw at her, she stood like iron, and that's when whispers began to spread. Among the recruits, among the instructors, There was something about Lieutenant Commander Arwen Blackwood, something no one could explain. They called her the Ghost. No record of her past, no known missions. But eyes that had seen everything, what none of them knew was that the Admiral's test was never just a test. It was a trap, and the woman he thought he could expose was about to expose him. The next morning, the SEALs gathered for tactical planning. Charts covered the walls. Screens flashed maps and mission routes. Lieutenant Thade stood tall and full of pride after losing the last exercise. He wanted payback. This time he would prove that no woman could outsmart him again. The Admiral sat watching silently, his eyes fixed on Arwen, like a predator studying his prey. When the meeting began, Thade accidentally skipped her in the strategy rotation. Then, during the debrief, he criticized her plan in front of everyone. "Commander Blackwood lacks full situational awareness," he said smugly. "She thinks too. Theoretically." The Admiral nodded in approval. "Their experience, gentlemen, is what separates theory from survival." Everyone knew who that jab was aimed at, but Arwen didn't fight back. She simply replied, "Understood, sir." No anger, no emotion, just calm power. That night she sat alone, sharpening her dive knife, motion slow, deliberate, steady. Outside, rain fell on the base, and inside her room a quiet storm brewed within her. The mission wasn't about gender, it wasn't about pride. It was about justice, because 7 years ago she had made a promise. And she hadn't forgotten. Later that evening, a knock on her door. Lieutenant Kelwyn, the youngest of the recruits, stepped in. He hesitated. "Commander, that maneuver you did at the oil platform, where did you learn it?" Arwen kept her eyes on her gear. "Improvisation is part of survival, Lieutenant." "That wasn't improvisation," Kelwyn pressed. "It was practiced, refined. I looked it up. It doesn't exist in any SEAL manual." Arwen looked up finally, calm and cold. "Not everything worth knowing appears in manuals." Kelwyn blinked. "Where did you serve before this assignment?" "That information is classified," she said softly. "Beyond your current access." The conversation ended there. But Kelwyn walked away with one haunting thought. Who exactly was she? Moments later, Thade appeared with his usual smirk. "Sharing secrets, Blackwood," he mocked. "Or explaining why you'll need extra time tonight." Arwen didn't even flinch. "Just discussing equipment configuration, Lieutenant." He leaned closer. His voice dropped. "Just because they lowered standards for you doesn't mean we have to pretend you belong here." Her jaw tightened, but her tone stayed ice-cold. "We should focus on readiness. The evolution begins in 30 minutes. Thade stepped even closer. "You think surviving 15 days makes you a SEAL? You've never seen what real operators face. Death, chaos, command decisions that break you." Arwen's eyes darkened. For the first time, a flicker of danger crossed her face. "I understand more than you might think, Lieutenant." Thade grinned. "Prove it tonight. Your team against mine. Full autonomy, no rules." The room went silent. Commander Coltrane entered just in time to cut the tension. "That's enough, Lieutenant Thade," he said sternly. But Thade pushed again. "Competitive pressure reveals true capability, sir." "Isn't that the point of this program?" Coltrane glanced at Arwen. "Lieutenant Commander, your thoughts?" Arwen nodded. "I have no objection, sir. Battlefield conditions rarely follow rules." Coltrane sighed, but he agreed. "Very well. Tonight's mission, 2 teams. No fixed parameters. Let's see who adapts." Captain Reeve watched silently from the doorway. Her lips barely moved as she whispered, "Exactly as planned." Night fell like a blanket over the forest. No moon, no mercy. Just darkness and discipline. 2 helicopters cut across the sky. The SEALs fast-roped down into dense woodland. 5 miles to the objective, a simulated enemy communications hub. Thade's team moved first. Aggressive, direct, confident. Classic textbook formation, Arwen's team. They vanished. Their beacons on the command screen barely moved. It looked like they were standing still. "Blackwood's team appears stationary," the Admiral said coldly. "Perhaps the terrain is too much for her." But Commander Coltrane studied the map carefully. "Or maybe they're gathering intel," the Admiral smirked. "Or they're stuck." Captain Reeve stayed quiet. Her eyes fixed on the tracker, her instincts whispering something different. An hour passed. Thade's team was almost at the objective. Their pace perfect. Their movements flawless. "This will prove my point," the Admiral said. "Blackwood isn't ready for special operations." But before he could finish, the alarms exploded across the screens. The enemy had gone to full alert, not because of Blackwood, but because of Thade's team. "What happened?" The Admiral barked. "Did someone trigger a sensor?" "No, sir," said Coltrane. "It was a communications intercept. They were detected electronically, and just like that, Thade's team was pinned down, cornered in simulation. Then something strange happened on the screen. Security systems inside the enemy structure began failing. One after another, cameras died, doors unlocked. It was chaos." Coltrane leaned forward, shocked. "They're already inside," he whispered. "But how?" "Their beacons didn't even move." Captain Reeves smiled faintly. "Perhaps Lieutenant Commander Blackwood found another way in." Within minutes, her team had taken the objective. No shots fired. No alarms tripped. Perfect execution. While Thade's men were still struggling to survive, Arwen's team was extracting ghost-like. When the mission ended, the command room was silent. Even the Admiral didn't speak for a moment. Then, quietly, he said, "I want a full debrief immediately." In the debriefing room, Arwen stood before the screens, calm as stone. She explained everything, every move, every choice. Coltrane listened, impressed. The Admiral, furious. "These modifications you made," the Admiral said sharply, "they're not in SEAL doctrine." "No, sir," she replied. "They were designed for specific operational conditions." "Whose operations?" he snapped. "You don't have authorization for those techniques." She met his eyes, unflinching. "With respect, Admiral, some of my training is classified above your clearance." The room went cold. Even Reeves' face tightened. The Admiral leaned forward. "I have Alpha 9 clearance. There's nothing I can't access." Arwen's tone was calm, but her words cut deep. "Yes, sir." "I know." And for the first time, the Admiral realized this woman was operating on a level even he couldn't touch. After that debrief, something changed inside the base. People didn't speak it out loud, but everyone felt it. The air was heavier. The Admiral's pride was wounded. And when pride bleeds, it plots. The following days were a test by fire. Training got harder, longer, more dangerous. Every drill somehow targeted Arwen. Every mission was designed to break her. But she didn't bend. She didn't even blink. Every challenge she met with precision. Every insult she met with silence. Every trap she walked through, untouched. Commander Coltrane noticed it. Captain Reeve noticed it. Even the doubters were now whispering, "She's not normal." But the Admiral, he saw something else, a threat. One night, after another brutal training evolution, Reeve found Arwen in the corridor. Their voices low, careful. "The Admiral's pushing too hard," Reeve said. "He's trying to corner you." "Has he compromised the operation?" Arwen asked calmly. Reeve shook her head. "No. He's behaving exactly as expected. The final phase is set for the ceremony." Arwen nodded. "And the package arriving tomorrow?" Reeve's eyes darkened. 7 years to the day, a long silence. Then Arwen said softly, "Until the mission is complete." Neither woman saw Lieutenant Kelvin, standing in the shadows, listening, realizing that this training program wasn't just training at all. The next day, the Admiral raised the stakes again, close-quarters combat training, live rounds simulation. No room for mistakes, no margin for mercy. He watched from above with cold precision, beside a visiting Marine general. The general, curious, asked, "That's Lieutenant Commander Blackwood, correct?" "Her records? Impressive. On paper," the Admiral said dryly. "In reality, she's untested." The general frowned. "She led every mission to success." The Admiral's voice hardened. "Temporary success. Real combat requires instinct, not luck." And then, before either could speak again, alarms blared, smoke filled the structure. The monitors went red. "What's happening?" The Admiral shouted. "Malfunction in simulation systems," yelled the technician. "Fire protocols active with real incendiary components." "Evacuate," ordered the general. "Negative," the tech replied. "Doors are sealed." Lockdown protocol engaged. Panic hit the control room. On the screens, the SEALs moved fast. Training forgotten, survival engaged. But one team, Thade's team, was trapped. Thick smoke, zero visibility. "No exit, get me comms." The Admiral barked. "Comms are unstable," said the tech. Last signal, they're trying the east shaft. And then something unexpected. Arwen's team didn't evacuate. They moved deeper into the fire. What is she doing? The Admiral shouted. She's violating every safety protocol. The General leaned forward. No, she's heading to the control node at the main override. Through smoke and flame, Arwen advanced alone. Every step was calculated. Every move confident. Like she'd walked through hell before. And came back alive. When she reached the locked control room door, she knelt and began bypassing security. She's hacking it, the tech whispered. But that's impossible. That door uses proprietary clearance codes. How does she even know those codes? The Admiral demanded. No one answered. They all just watched. In seconds, the door opened. The system rebooted. Fire suppression activated. Smoke cleared. The trapped team stumbled out, coughing but alive. She had saved them. Minutes later at the medical bay, Thade, pale, exhausted, looked up at her. How did you do that? Those override codes are top secret. Even I don't have access. Arwen looked at him quietly. Sometimes training includes things not in the manual. That wasn't training, Thade whispered. Nobody's trained on those systems. Except, he stopped mid-sentence, her realization forming, but too wild to believe. Lieutenant Commander Blackwood, the Admiral's voice thundered through the hallway. It's my office now. His office was cold, sterile, lined with medals. Every symbol of a man who thought he was the system. Explain yourself, he barked. How did you access those codes? Standard emergency override procedures, sir, she replied evenly. He slammed his fist on the table. Don't insult me. Those were proprietary codes, known only to system developers and certain covert units. Arwen's voice didn't waver. Then perhaps my previous assignments included relevant training. His eyes narrowed. I reviewed your entire record. Annapolis graduate. Naval intelligence for 3 years. Surface warfare transfer. Selection for this program, nowhere. Does it mention special ops access? Not all training appears in accessible records, Admiral. His voice rose. I have Alpha 9 clearance. Yes, sir, she said quietly. You do, and that silence, that single confident pause, said more than any insult ever could. He stepped closer, so close he could see his reflection in her eyes. Who are you really working for? The CIA DIA, a black unit? I'm a naval officer completing this training, she replied. Nothing more. Don't lie to me, he roared. The ceremony's in 2 days. All eyes will be on us. You think you can turn this into your show? Not under my command, Arwen stood tall. No games, sir. Just finishing the mission. Her words hit him like a bullet, because deep down, he knew she wasn't talking about training. You're confined to quarters, he ordered. Effective immediately. That would violate direct orders from Naval Command, she said calmly. I am Naval Command, he snapped. But before he could continue, the door opened. Captain Reeve entered. General Hayes requires Lieutenant Commander Blackwood for a technical debrief. The Admiral glared. She's under review. Reeve's tone sharpened. The General was quite specific, sir. Immediate presence, he hesitated and then waved her off. Fine, but this conversation isn't over. Of course not, sir, Arwen said, her salute perfect, her eyes colder than steel. But Reeve didn't take her to the General. She led her into a secure comms room. We have a problem, Reeve said quietly. The malfunction wasn't an accident. It was sabotage. Arwen's face didn't change. Our ghost? Possibly. But the codes used were from the Song Juan incident. The same ones tied to the Admiral's profile. For a long moment, Arwen said nothing. He's forcing our hand, Reeve continued. Or someone's forcing his. Either way, Arwen said, the game ends at the ceremony. Reeve frowned. It's risky. Too many eyes. Too many ranks. Exactly, Arwen replied. No one attempts chaos under full watch. If the truth comes out, it'll be then. Reeve exhaled. 7 years, Arwen. 7 years for one mission. Some debts, Arwen said quietly, can only be paid in full. Just then, the secure monitor blinked. Incoming message. One line appeared on the screen. Widow protocol initiated. Stand by for package delivery. Reeve froze. Arwen's jaw clenched. It's time, she said. The endgame begins now. The ceremony hall gleamed under bright lights. Flags lined the stage. Rows of medals glittered under the glow. Every elite officer in Naval Special Warfare Command was there. And so was the man who thought he controlled it all. Admiral Victor Hargrove. He stood proud, chest heavy with ribbons. Tonight was supposed to be his moment, his program, his victory. But across the hall stood Lieutenant Commander Arwin Blackwood, silent, calm, like a storm waiting for its cue. The Admiral began his speech. For over 60 years, Navy SEALs have represented the pinnacle of strength and honor, he said proudly. The men, and now women, who earn this title do so through sacrifice and discipline. His voice echoed through the hall. But everyone could feel the venom behind his words. Earn, he emphasized. A direct shot at her. Tonight the SEALs would receive their official call signs, names they'd carry for life. One by one the men went up. Each took the ceremonial chalice, drank the salt water of the sea and received their name. Lieutenant Orion Thade, the Admiral said, call sign, Beacon. Thade saluted proudly. He'd been waiting for this moment. The applause faded, and then only one name remained, the woman Arwin Blackwood. The Admiral paused dramatically, his smile cold as ice. Lieutenant Commander Arwin Blackwood, he announced. Please step forward. She did. Head high, step steady. Every eye followed her. When she reached the stage, he looked her up and down. And then, with false politeness, he said, before we assign your call sign, perhaps you could share your most significant operational achievement. The room went still. That question had never been asked before. It wasn't protocol, it was humiliation. She held his gaze. With respect, Admiral, my operational history includes classified deployments. I can't discuss them here, he smirked. How convenient. Turning to the audience, he said, call signs reflect real achievement and proven valor under fire. They are earned. He handed her the chalice. Tell us, Lieutenant Commander, what call sign have your instructors assigned you? It was meant to trap her, because he knew she had none. The hall fell silent. You could hear the breath of 100 soldiers waiting to see her fail. But Arwin didn't blink. She took the chalice, raised her chin, and said 2 words that froze time itself. Iron Widow. Silence. Pure heavy silence. The Admiral's hand trembled. His face went pale. The chalice slipped from his fingers, crashing onto the floor, shattering into silver shards. He whispered, barely audible, That's not possible. That name is classified, Arwin's voice carried through the hall. Calm, cold, unstoppable. 7 years ago, 6 SEAL operators were captured in North Korea. A black site known as Songhwan. All hope was lost. Rescue deemed impossible. Her words cut through the air like blades. Those men were saved by a single operator known only by a code name. Iron Widow. The Admiral staggered back, realization crawling over his face like a nightmare. Because one of those men was him. She turned to face the crowd. Among the captured was then Captain Victor Hargrove, she said, and the one who carried him through the mountains with a broken femur. Was me, gasps filled the hall. Lieutenant Thade rose slowly, his eyes wide. I remember, he said hoarsely. You carried me too. They told us you were a local asset. I never saw your face. Captain Reeve stepped forward, removing her insignia to reveal the stars of a rear admiral. Her voice echoed with command. Lieutenant Commander Blackwood's identity as Iron Widow has been classified at the highest levels for 7 years. This program was part of a covert counterintelligence mission to identify the source of the betrayal that caused the capture. The Admiral's knees buckled. He grabbed the podium for balance. This is irregular, he muttered. This ceremony has exposed the truth, Rear Admiral Reeve interrupted. The same truth you tried to bury. She turned toward the audience. For years, Admiral Hargrove blamed the mission failure on faulty intel. But the real breach came from his access codes, used during a 23-minute gap while he was in a classified briefing. Hargrove's voice cracked. It wasn't me. I was framed. Arwin's tone was calm, almost pitying. Maybe, or maybe you left your terminal unlocked. Either way, 6 men almost died because of you, and 1 woman spent 7 years cleaning your mess. The hall stood frozen. No one moved. No one breathed. Then Thade, the man who once mocked her, stepped forward. Silently, he removed his trident pin and placed it on the stage before her feet, a sign of ultimate respect. One by one, others followed. Soon a pile of silver tridents lay before her, each one a salute to the woman who had just rewritten history. The Admiral sank into his chair. his legend collapsing before his eyes. Rear Admiral Reeve stepped closer. Lieutenant Commander Arwin Blackwood, call sign Iron Widow, by the authority of Naval Special Warfare Command and the Joint Chiefs of Staff, you are officially recognized as the first female operator in SEAL Team 6. Applause erupted, thunderous, unending. Not the polite claps of ceremony, but the kind that shakes walls. The kind that heals wounds. Arwin stood motionless, a calm storm surrounded by cheers. Because for her, this was never about glory. It was about the promise she made to those 6 men she carried out of hell. Later that night, in her quiet quarters, she finally let herself breathe. The widow pin glimmered on her collar, its red hourglass catching the dim light. A symbol of patience, power, and vengeance complete. Rear Admiral Reeve entered softly. The mission's over, she said. Hargrove's being retired and permanently. You've changed everything. Arwin smiled faintly. Was it worth it? Reeve nodded. You saved 6 lives that night, and countless more by finishing this. Arwin placed the pin back in its case. What happens now? Reeve smiled. That's up to you. Your record's restored. Your name no longer a secret. She paused at the door. You opened doors that will never close again. A month later, the next batch of recruits stood at attention. And there she was, Lieutenant Commander Arwin Blackwood, now an instructor. Her widow pin no longer hidden, glinting with pride, she looked at the new faces. The standards haven't changed, she said. They've only evolved. You'll be tested beyond what you think possible. And when you succeed, you'll understand what being a SEAL really means. She paused, scanning the room. It's not about who you are. It's about what you bring, and how far you'll go for something greater than yourself. Her voice was calm. Her presence unshakable. Her legend eternal. When asked later what gave her the courage to face it all, Arwin said only one line. I didn't know it could be done. I just knew it had to be. And that's the heart of it, isn't it? Heroes aren't born from certainty. They're forged in the moments when everyone else says impossible, and sometimes the most powerful warriors in the world are the ones no one believed in.